Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. I'm pleased I was able to get here, even though a little bit late, because I wanted to certainly meet Mr. Feinberg and to tell him it gives me a level of comfort that you are now in a position to help, to construct and implement this claims process. I appreciate the work that you did after 9/11 with New York, and I'm looking forward to your creating the kind of protocols that will get us into a claim system that's fair and will compensate those who have been harmed in the right way. I have a few questions I'd like to ask you, and some of these questions may be a little bit premature given that you're still working on these protocols. The first thing I'd like to ask is about the $20 billion. That amount was negotiated kind of by the administration, and I'm wondering if this includes a cap on liability, that somehow those persons who participate in getting compensated out of this $20 billion can, if they accept a settlement, they cannot sue. Is that correct?
That is correct if they accept, Congresswoman, the lump sum payment that I offer them. However, any claimant who's eligible and can prove the claim will receive up to 6 months emergency payment without any obligation of any type to release or promise not to sue. So it's only if a claimant comes to me and says voluntarily, Mr. Feinberg, I've already got my 6 months payment, and thank you, but I want to now a lump sum payment for the remaining present and future damage. Only if they like that amount do they waive their right to sue BP.
Was there a cap on liability in the 9/11 claims process?
No, nor is there a cap on liability in this process.
But in the New York process, if you accepted whatever amount and you discovered that there was a lingering health problem, for example, did you have the ability to sue?
No.
No?
In the 9/11 fund, which I administered, if you settled with the 9/11 fund with full disclosure that it was a waiver of any future claim, you had to waive that claim. And if you didn't want to, don't come into the fund.
You can sue.
They have
as an
choice.
Individual.
I'm sorry?
You can sue as an individual.
You could sue as an individual if you didn't want to take the
That's
payment.
right. That's right.
Same as this.
That's right. Okay, very good. Now, I am focused on New Orleans because they had something called a Road Home program. It was a mess. And I'm a little bit upset that there was money left over that we eventually reclaimed in this recent conference committee that we just did. And there are people who are left who still did not get their money or the right amount of money, and they still have not rehabbed those homes, what have you. So I certainly want to see this claims process work a lot better than New Orleans. Now, in this process, here's what I think you're going to find. I have gotten to know the black oyster fishermen, for example, the African-American oyster fishermen with Mr. Brian Accolade, a wonderful man who knows the history, 4 generations of fishermen down there in the area. And when they first went into the claims process, prior to the administration getting involved and agreeing on this $20 billion amount, the initial attempt by BP to get them to waive rights if they accepted small amounts was disturbing. And I certainly did not want that to be the kind of thinking that would lead us into this overall claims process. So you got a handle on that. What I'm worried about is this. We're going to have fishermen without receipts. We're going to have fishermen without our IRS filings. We're going to have fishermen who maybe are not that literate. They fished all of their lives. They earn a living for their families and the villages that they live in. But they're not the kind of structured business people that you could say, I want your audited receipts in order to prove that you are eligible for this claim. What alternatives do you have to help these people get some compensation, justly so, without all of that kind of documentation? What can you substitute for the kind of documentation that I just alluded to?
Mr. Jones, you're a fisherman. Come in and have your ship captain tell me what he paid you. I don't need documentation. Have your ship captain come. Have your priest come in and verify. I need some corroboration, some proof. I don't need extensive business records. You've got to demonstrate that you have a valid claim. But I will bend over backwards to try and find eligibility.
Will you define this in your protocols?
Yes.
How you have an alternative system of
Yes.
proof, that verification by legitimate folks, whatever. You'll spell that out.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's very good.
I do not need IRS returns and extensive business documentation. I do not need it.
All right. Did I hear? Well, I thought I heard something, but I really didn't. Let me ask you this. I'm learning unanimous consent for 1 minute. Thank you. I'm learning a lot about the oyster beds. And I haven't figured out yet, because I haven't had a chance to talk with Mr. Uncolade about it so that he could really explain it to me, about these oyster beds. I was reading last night that the oysters are dying because the fresh water is getting into them and killing them. I couldn't determine whether or not these oyster beds are natural or they're designed, they belong to one entity, or they belong to everybody. Have you gotten into that yet?
No.
Okay.
No, you've anticipated, as you usually do, Congresswoman, you've anticipated another question or issue I haven't thought of, and I will look into it.
Okay, that's real important, because it seems to me that if everybody's got access to certain oyster beds, you got to figure out, what they've got coming to them. Now, having said all of that, will you print some kind of pamphlet or brochure that's instructive that people can at least use to say, oh, this is how the process works?
We'll have all of that. We'll have it at 35 claims offices. We'll have it online. We'll have it in different languages. We will have frequently asked questions. Here's how you go about filling out the form. We'll help you fill out the form. We'll do all of that.
Last, and I'll just wrap this up. There are a number of organizations that are trying to help people down there, the nonprofits, et cetera. But as you know, they survive on donations, et cetera. Have you got a little advocacy money in this $20 billion that you can help pay some of these not so big organizations that's helping them?
We'll look into that. I must say, Congresswoman, most of those organizations have not asked for it. They're working pro bono. They're glad to help regardless of funding from the $20 billion, but I will look into that.
Look into it, because they come to us later and say, we've been doing all this work and we can't get any money for it. So if we get on top of it, in front of it, we might be able to work with it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.